Welcome to Spirituelle Sunday, where women of the world meet. Every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, women from around the world unite for communion with true wisdom, soul purpose, and deep destiny. Watch us on most channels at Spirituelle Society or on our website at spirituellesociety.com. Each week, through inspired teachings, soulful reflections, and supermind secrets, we explore the deeper dimensions of spiritual leadership for women and what it takes to live a powerful, purposeful, pure, and prosperous life on this planet today. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our very special, very sacred Spiritual Sunday. This show is specifically for women around the world who are looking to connect, to find their home, their inner home, and to recalibrate with harmony in their lives. We have so many things that we would love to share tonight, but we thought our topic for tonight could be all about the feminine. The feminine, we're going to talk about our food. We're going to talk about our body, our fortress. And what I wanted to start with is to just ask a very simple question to everyone listening. And that is, if you take away your busy schedule, all your work, your business, all the things you have to do for your children, if you have children, do you ever ask yourself, do I feel true joy? Because it's easy to get full in your day with all of the demands on women and on our bodies and on our time. But we can get so busy being busy and hiding in our work, in our activities, in taking care of other people, that we rarely take a second to ask ourselves, like, am I experiencing joy in my body? Because if I'm not, then that must become a priority in my life. Not doing more work or more cell phone time or, more projects. That's our default, to put more on our plate because we don't want to ask those questions. So our conversation tonight is really going to be, what does food and reconnecting with our feminine have to do with feeling simple joy? Because that's really so important. I know in my own journey, feeling the simple joy and in the inside, not looking for joy on the outside, is one of the keys to highest health, to spiritual mastery, and to everything we talk about on this show. So we're going to really go through some really beautiful topics tonight, but I really want this to be a conversation about, what do I need to do, asking ourselves this question, to find my joy? And do I need more rituals in my day to reconnect with my feminine? Do I need to really consider how I nourish my body, not just through food, through what I expose myself to, but food is a big part of that. So we've got a lot to talk about tonight in a 45-minute period, but I always love to pass it over to Kathy, as you know, every week as we start this episode. She's going to give us a really incredible snapshot about energetically what to expect this week.
Okay, beautiful. Well, nice to connect with everyone today. We have we're in for a treat this week. We have a very creative new moon in Gemini happening, which we're already under the influence of, even though it doesn't officially peak until tomorrow night. So what you can expect with that is, well, let's look at what Gemini is all about, seeing as we've just entered this sign. Again, I'm not an astrologer. I look at the energies of the that are making their way to the planet, to humanity, from a variety of sources. So if we take the new moon and kind of break it down, I'd like to break it down actually in two large pieces at this time. So the first part is I'd like to share with you that what you can expect is to find the creative side of that greater mind that is Gemini's trademark, this ability to show us and share with us the fact that we operate in two worlds. Majority of our, I can't say it, narrow it right down to just the two because it's more expansive than that, but I want to take it, the mind, into the two worlds. So a super higher mind, a super mind, and your intellectual mind. And so you're going to be finding that the creative juices of your super higher mind are going to be on point this week. Now, please pay attention to those because they want to come down to your more forward thinking, boots on the ground, intellectual mind. So the intellect with that intuitive connection up to the higher mind, that's going to start you into a very, exciting time of making things happen, creating and making things happen. Lots of communication, a lot of getting organized, making things happen for yourself because the energy is supporting you. So then the other part of this, though, is actually twofold. There's the opposite side where we have to talk about the Sagittarian influence, which relates to our body, our physical body, and the movement of our body. Sagittarian thighs, meaning down at the hips and the legs. Gemini, shoulders, arms, and hands, and up in towards the neck. A little bit of Taurus still at the neck. So what you have, if anything, here's the twofold side. If anything's going to give you a hard time this week, any resistance, it's going to show up right there. It's going to show up in your shoulders, stiff shoulders, inability to move properly, feeling a little bogged down in your joints. So while on one point I'm saying please welcome the higher energies of the higher mind, check yourself out because your resistance factors, your triggers are going to come up, and we'll talk about how to deal with those going through this update. Okay, so some of the things that you can do if you're feeling yourself getting stuck with having all these amazing ideas and having that urge or that being compelled to want to express them through writing or whatever the case may be, and speaking, development of your projects, just look at the body, like break down the body. So physically, you're going to want to do some stretches, yoga, Pilates. I made a little fun with my post this morning. I said, reach for the stars, reach for the stars, get those arms up, get this energy unlocked and get it moving in your shoulders and arms, because we tend to tighten and we get the burden and the tighten. So we have to carefully unlock that area. You want to look at your emotional aspects of yourself. Emotion tied up in the shoulders and the neck. Oh, we want to laugh. We want to cry. We want to watch a movie to make us cry. We want to belly laugh. We want to be able to get our emotions expressed. They're healthy. So we want to express our emotions. And then don't forget the rest side of it all. You are women's bodies. Remember, we're not trying to overwhelm. Watch our endocrine glands, watch our adrenals, and we want to bring it back to rest. So with all this that you're loosening up through the day, deeper sleep at night, go to bed. Go to bed.
I find when you really hear that and you start practicing it, I feel like catch myself when I'm too much in my active manly side of energy. I catch myself a lot faster than I used to, just being aware of that and not rolling in that masculine energy too often.
Well, and that's just it. And here's a good week to do that, because actually we've got several directives to give all the ladies listening tonight about how to work with that catching, as you say, catching yourself and redirecting. So, and the mental note of it all, I'd like you to please think about how this energy coming in, you want to be able to identify your gifts. Like, don't pile the plate up. Just realize this is creative. If I'm in a creative alignment, I don't want to have 50 projects on my desk. I want to get that creative energy working for one project, right?
Mhm. Oh, it's so good.
Right?
Do you
That
think do you think women are being called to do less but put more into less things now?
Absolutely, because it's answering the call to your soul investment, the soul signature, what the universe has invested in you, which you feel drawn to, alignment with. Those creative juices are flowing. And then that's how you harness it down to that one pure focus of
Mhm.
that's your joy that you so eloquently opened up the talk with tonight is finding your joy, joy in your body, joy in what you do each day. The joy is in not the doing of a gazillion things,
Yeah.
paring it down,
And
paring
I
it
feel
down.
like because I speak to so many women and so many entrepreneurs daily, I question how many women underneath, if you take away the projects and the busy and taking care of the kids, and I don't meet very many that are feel joy. It's just they hide and busy, but if we take away all of that, it's it's very rare that I meet someone in simple, spiritual, beautiful joy.
Well, because we've been led down the path, led astray for so long. This idea of having to do so much because more is some sort of a sign of success, which is just a bunch of baloney, is that's why the women are now turning their lives around and saying, how do I get back to that
Mhm,
simple alignment of just being me? I want to be me. I don't want to
mhm.
be everything to everybody. I want to be me. And that's not selfish because that turns to greater good. But if you don't get yourself organized in your own heart, which is what that other piece of this week ahead is about, is the spiritual heart and the wisdom, is that when you are no longer denying yourself time and space for your own heart to you want to listen to it, then the answers come, the directives come to you from the silence, from that equilibrium, from that perfect state. And then you're going to find that you don't have to run hither and yon. It's going to happen. um, this is a type of week where if you look at the time for meditation and the activations that are going to take place with the Gemini new moon, that is all about that mind and body connection here, that you're going to be very inspired to do your own storytelling, to use your imagination, to some people are going to be very drawn to new technologies and advancements. Some are going to be very curious about that, because the Gemini is not means you have to be a Gemini. The Gemini means that constellation is influencing mankind. So that's why another big AI boost is going to come through over these weeks, because that's what's hitting humanity is the constellation Gemini. And so for the curious people out there that like that, you're going to be curious to find out more about it. For those of you that are into the storytelling, then you're going to find yourself wanting to harness that power for creativity. For those of you who are looking to communicate, now is the time. Now is the time. Now, this is going to go on until about June 20th with a very strong focus on till we shift into solstice and Cancerian. But
Right,
right.
and before we start, our next beautiful segment of talking about global pulse, what what do you suggest for women who are feeling, "I have way too many projects, I'm not happy, but like,
Don't know what
they
to let go of.
yeah, or they don't know, like, what should be done, or what's some how can the energy support that this week?"
Okay, this is the time where you lay the cards down on the table. Now, when you start, let's let's pretend we have cue cards, little cards. Okay. And on each card, you're highlighting the strongest points of relationship between yourself and that project. And when you start to write out the true, honest relationship that you have with that project, you will find that that card that is makes your heart sing will fill up the most under that project. And the other ones you're going to struggle to find the positive tone of what you want to put there. And when you see that weakening, start to slide that off to the side. It may not be your timing yet for it. It doesn't mean let go of it. It means that your heart is not engaging, your soul is not engaging with that concept in the way that perhaps you had thought. So
Mhm.
what you do is you get the ones where they say your heart sings. When you feel your heart sing to a project, that's your focus. And that's this week.
Okay, that's so good. So
Okay.
good.
Now, speaking of physical, I guess a
Mhm.
nice way to go right into, because of we mentioned the fact that we have to look after our physical bodies with stretching and moving this week. You know, we could say to ourselves, just why is the physical so important to a woman, especially as we're looking at this timeline, is that the physical body is made up of the resources of the earth, which takes us right into food. Food.
Mhm.
So your body is only going to be as spiritually comfortable for you, physically comfortable for you, emotionally, mentally, and so on. All the comforts that you're looking for are only going to be there if you look after that physical body. And I think you might have seen yourself, Lee. We've talked about this for at several moments with each other back and forth. Is that we have highlighting one wonderful lady down in the States, is that food babe lady, and the changes that are coming out of the United States, which is kind of fascinating just to share tonight. We have finally starting to see some movement. I'm sure she is just delighted to see some movement, because she actually was at the White House on Friday, the 23rd, with a number of other very important members of the government and other influencers and medical advisors, um, looking to, in their words, make America healthy again. But making America healthy again, we're looking at a global, like, how
Mhm.
can we all make ourselves healthy again? Now, in their particular case, because food, it's grassroots, it's essential to life,
Mhm.
is that how did we get so disconnected from food in that it's causing, what their reports are saying, huge obesity and health issues, mental health issues, toxic children that are in percentages of sickness that should never ever be. And so, with her being an advocate for that type of change, I look to celebrate her. I think it's wonderful that we have a woman like that is out there, pounding the pavement and getting some response from their government affairs. Now, bringing that back to women everywhere, we have to tie in the fact that when there is any compromise to the physical body because of the way what we feed it, and the raw materials being in some way compromised, like with toxins and chemicals and additives and food colors, and you name it, any of the growing processes disruption, then that causes disorder. So here we are,
Mhm.
back to that word, disorder.
Yes.
Disorder in our lives. If you don't have the right food, you're going to have disorder. And this concern that is being highlighted in the media across the United States is a wonderful sight to see. However, we must also be very aware that it's ultimately up to every single woman on this planet to take that power back unto themselves, to say,
Mhm.
look, I already know what I need for my body, and I know what my children, my family needs. And so we take it upon ourselves to say absolutely zero tolerance for any foods that are corrupted in any way. And corporations can either comply or break down. They'll
Mhm.
collapse or they'll comply. That's up to them. But in the meantime, while they're still wrangling with that back and forth, what do you suggest too, Lee? Do you think we should just, as women, be saying, I'm cooking organic, or I'm going to make
Yeah.
sure my kids don't get that?
I mean, my husband and I are pretty vocal about our passion for healthy food, and
Yes.
we tend to move to areas that have less towers and healthier air, and
Yes.
we've been studying locations and putting our family into the healthiest zone possible, because not everyone can just pick up and move. Or some people are stuck in urban centers, right? Where
Yes.
there's towers everywhere and there's never a day without smog and they have to shop at grocery stores. But I remember when I started on my journey, I was really curious about like what are I started looking for really amazing individuals who were doing cool things around organic farming. I started
Mhm.
to Google organic farms in my area and how could I support them? Could I volunteer there? And I
Yeah.
remember speaking to an amazing guy who farms an organic farm, and he said, sadly, they're going by the wayside because they're having difficulty even breaking even. And so
Yeah.
he said, whatever you can do to support local organic farmers, do it. And I learned so much from him, even banding together with families that are maybe one family can grow the herbs and one family,
Yeah.
and support each other and create beautiful community co-ops. And if you don't have farmland, there's still things you can grow
Yes.
around your home. There's a lot you can do, but I think for me and my husband is so passionate about this, we are getting to a point where because the air too, we have to be mindful, like just look up every day. There's a
Yes.
lot of not nice things going on in the air. A lot of
Yes.
families that are really health conscious are going to greenhouses. So
Yes.
that's something to consider, a small greenhouse. Geodesic domes, obviously, greenhouse domes are brilliant because they're
Yes.
half underground. So if you have a winter climate, you can still grow year round.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Well, that's just it. The sharing of ideas. It would be nice to see more and more women share with each other, with other families, educate their children on the differences of these foods. For example, even though these reports are coming out and being very precise in their findings about how elevated the chronic health and diseases are, the rising rates of disorders and cancers and mental health issues and autisms and so on. Um, and the numbers are staggering. We don't just stand by and
Mhm.
look at numbers and say, oh, gee, that's awful. That's too bad. We start to say to ourselves, why would I ever want myself or my family put in a position where these heavy metals and chemicals and pesticides can do harm at all? What are they doing there in the first place? So, though the root cause goes a lot deeper and much further back than we think, or we're led to believe, it does go very far back. Um, what How we change that is how we realize that we are the ones eating the food. So you have the power. So that's where people think, oh, well, I guess that's all there is. And that's not true, because when you go looking, you will find those things, those different food items that you truly do want. It's a lot easier to make something at home than it is to have the worries and concerns of the reactions or consequences of health, and how much time, energy, and unfairness that is to all anybody's body. Putting that time in to educate and say to yourself, I choose this, as you said, growing it yourself, but being clear that this is your choice. This is how
Mhm.
we change everything in our world. Women have power.
We do, and I
Women
think
have incredible power.
we have to find the beacons of light in our communities and offer so much support, because growing food is quickly being eaten up by industry. And we need to do whatever we can. I remember going into one of my kids' schools and offering to come in on Fridays and juice for the kids.
Yeah,
I was, and
yeah, yeah,
because and offer our support. We have to be the advocates around food, because
yes.
it we're hitting a crisis with food. I mean, we've already hit it. Look at your local
We're in
grocery
it.
store. This stuff is not real. We need to really step up, go into schools and do offer some suggestions for feeding kids healthier. I remember when rebates came out in our country and some foods got a discount, but it was
Yeah,
all the horrible food. It was
yeah,
the alcohol and the chips and all the processed
yeah.
food. The healthy food got nothing, just got
That's
higher
right.
prices, higher
Yes,
prices.
yes,
So we have to be advocates. And I mean, when I road trip, I always bring a juicer. And we also have to be mindful that we can't be eating the way our grandparents ate when we are living in a different environment. So a lot
yes.
of parents aren't aware, we don't our kids don't need as much heavy food as
Yeah.
our grandparents maybe needed when they were young.
Well, true. And what about the exercise? You see, that's
Mhm.
another part of their report, that is something that we all know, that when just through the generations, that activity, like, you spent your time outside playing.
Yes.
And even as the adults, for all the adults that we are on tonight listening, and of course in the future replays, is that this message is for the adults. Let me go back to the fact that we just finished talked about in the weekly spiritual updates, that your body, you have to keep it healthy for all your other dreams to come true.
Yes.
Meaning that you have your mandate, you have your spiritual goals, you have your creativity, you've got your eye on that ball, where, you have where you want to go, but your body is going to sit there and say, I don't like this. I don't like this, because you're busy eating at your desk at lunchtime. You're running around, you got the phone going, you're running through drive-throughs. And we'll pick up more on that on the next show. But the fact that it's still up to each one of us to look at our body and say, this body needs exercise. This body needs stretches. This
Yeah.
body's joints aren't happy. Something's getting stuck. And it's going to be around the chemicals, and whether they started in the atmosphere or started as sprays upon the food in the ground, or how they migrated, purposely or not,
Mhm.
they are there.
Yeah.
And it impacts your ability to think, to process your emotions, and to have a healthy physical body. It disrupts the natural line between source, the sun, and what's on your plate. And
Yeah.
I'm going to say that again. These disruptors interrupt the alignment between the divine source, universal source, from which all comes from, down through to the sun in the sky, which is that big nuclear reactor up there that is responsible for transforming the energy into our plants through photosynthesis, and ultimately giving us the physical energy and the nutrients from the soils and all that we require for good, healthy physical bodies. If there's anything blocking that, we're in trouble. And
Mhm.
what we're doing in this show is we're telling you that we have exercises to do to help you get your mastership back over that. While, of course, we will continue our conversations weekly on how you can stop the process of these disrupting interferences hurting you, hurting
Yeah.
your body, right?
Yes. And that enters into the segment that I love to do every week, which is Living Light. And as we're going to sort of continue this conversation from what Kathy and I were just talking about, but I wanted to do a little shout out for um, Barlando, who's doing so much great work with food and biodynamic farming. And I am so grateful that my kids have been exposed to biodynamic
Right.
farming, and we can't, it's pretty complicated. It's not something
Yeah.
that people can just start doing in a day, but to just find what you can do or who you can support or introduce your children to connecting with food and growing, and so many people are doing that now. Their kids are gardening with them and planting with them.
Yeah.
Even getting access to really clean beautiful seeds is getting very difficult.
Yes. Yes.
So seed in my community, there's seed swaps,
Yes.
heritage seeds, and I think that's something our grandparents probably did, but it's
Yeah.
making a comeback, and it's so incredible. But so if you wanted to take a peek at someone who's doing this in an incredible scale, Alpha Vedic is the name of the farm, and there's products as well, and he's just rocking it, and he's kind of somebody that I've been learning from. But I wanted to talk about how, when we talk about our fortress, like our bodies, and how
Mhm.
that is impacted by what we eat, but also how we connect to our femininity. And I just thought I would share a few things to think about, because we're being trained through social media, through everything we listen to just do more business, do
Right.
more content,
Right.
do more projects, network more, all of this. But no one is saying, what about connecting to your femininity and finding your peace and
Yes.
not caring so much about what you look like and more about what you feel like? And I can't figure out why there's so much obsession with what's the outside world, because you're never gonna find joy there. So we want to
No.
share we all know this, right? But a gentle reminder as you're scrolling or you're online or you're going to work tomorrow morning, it's like, it's not going to make you happy, right? This is a wonderful thing to do. We have to pay our bills, and hopefully, you have some type of career that you love. But at the end of the day, if you take all that away, what can you do to reconnect with your feminine, to protect your fortress? Because we are being poisoned, and whether it's intentional, unintentional, a little bit of both, we
Yeah.
are in a toxic world, whether we like it or not. And we don't have the luxury anymore to go to a detox retreat once a year. Every day has to be a detox day now. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be your full day, but you have to have a rhythm every day that incorporates clearing, cleansing, detoxing, keeping yourself pure, um, getting the resistance out of your body. So it's not always physical things, it's boundaries, it's
Mm.
cleansing other people's negative energy from your field. It's giving yourself rest. It's having some personal time where you're not talking, you're not around people. Um, it's really important that we do this. And so, what is your daily rhythm? What could it look like to bring you more joy? It could be planting some mint, in a little
Yeah.
container. And every night, make yourself a mint tea, boil the water, put your mint in it, and make it
Yeah.
yourself.
That's right.
Because when we're working with herbs, we're getting the highest form of energy, the
Mhm.
energy from the sun.
That's right.
And so herbs for me, as I have been on my own journey, have really reconnected me with my highest health practices. And it can be as simple as a tiny little herb garden, but having a daily herbal tea ritual with yourself, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I combo it, right? I'll have my bath, my tea in the bath, and
Yes.
your beauty rituals too is so important to connect you with the divine feminine. and taking the time not to just slap cream on your face because you're rushing and you haven't taken a second and your kids are screaming your name. It's like, no, have a few
Yeah.
minutes where you tell your family that this is quiet time for you and it's your ritual time, whether it's a gua sha or, a crystal roll or whatever it is for you, or acupressure points with your fingers.
Yeah.
But just mother yourself with beautiful femininity. And that brings the joy back into your body. A few other things, getting in the sun more. Oftentimes, if there's some ailments, I know if I'm going in the sun more, it cleans it up quite
Yeah.
quickly. Um,
The deep
I
breathing in the sun. Yeah.
Yes, and I often talk about a chi machine. I mean, rebounders are beautiful too, but I love the chi machine. I go on it almost every day for anyone who has a little bit of anxiety or has trouble calming the nervous system. I find within 10 minutes it works miracles. Sauna, stillness, maybe all you need to reconnect with your feminine and your joy is more rest.
Yeah.
I know for me, when I lose that connection with my feminine, it's because my adrenals are shot and I'm
Yeah.
doing too many things.
Too much. Yeah.
And like you said, we're not built to be like a man. We're not built to grind 40 projects, but we're chasing recognition and we're chasing outside approval because there's a little void in us from when we were young that's like, I need to fit in to be liked and to get recognition and to get approval from other people, but it's a facade.
Yeah.
And we have to remember, no, that like it stops today. I have to mother myself back to center. And for me, it's every day making the little detoxing rhythm of my day. It's not separate from other things I do. I bring it into every day is a detox cleansing day for me because I know if I don't, I'll be miserable because I won't be in my truth.
Well, on that note, I love all that you're saying there. Plus the fact that I love you mentioning the herbs and the fact that you can do so much, just whatever is available to you naturally, that should become more of a daily naturally. This is not some, it's funny. If we went through a time machine and went back 100 years, where there was no such thing as all these chemicals and all these different things that were happening, we would sound crazy to the
Mhm.
women back then talking about, oh, time for an herb tea. They would have been
Mhm.
like, yeah, like we do this every day. They think
Totally.
you're from outer space. And we're
And
thinking
many
here,
and many cultures, it's
yes,
multiple times a day.
exactly. And here we are in our modern day time where women are going to have to schedule their
Mhm.
tea. Now
It's
that's
messed up.
sad. It's
It's messed
messed
up.
up.
And if we don't have time to do the only things that matter to keep us alive and healthy, the rest is not important.
Yeah.
All the projects, who cares if we're
Yeah.
not in our joy and we're not taking care of ourselves? So if we're too busy to, like for me, I mentioned this a few weeks ago, I was too busy to be able to juice. And I know that sounds nuts, but for me, I had grief over it because I'm like, what exactly? I'm not taking care of my health the way I like, but I'm doing a gazillion things for other people
Yeah.
and I'm miserable. So I had to
That's
shift
right.
that and I had to put my foot down. And I hope tonight, for some of you, it's that moment where you're like, yeah, I'm not holding myself sacred in my feminine. I'm living like a man.
Yeah. And what a time to start this too, Lee. Gemini new moon. Like we've got it coming in tomorrow. We can start today. We can start tomorrow. We can start the day after. Just start. Just
Mhm.
start. And it's that, and taking that time and claiming it as your own. It's a good start. It's a wonderful start. And for those of you that have children, then it's a great educational experience. You're acting as a role model. Let them start their herb garden. It can be in the kitchen. If you're living in an apartment or a condominium and you don't have any outside garden space, do it inside. You can get very creative with that. Have the kids go and pick the herbs with you. Have them cook with them. Show them how to bake with certain things. But if you have some land or if you have a backyard, great, outside you go. But whatever the case may be, nobody should have to do without. Nobody should have to say, I can't be a part of this. No, that's
Yes.
not true, because there's always a way to bring the sacredness of living in alignment with Mother Earth back into your life. The women's bodies are to be nurtured as the sacred mother teaches us, and we're bringing this back big time.
And like you said, bringing back vitality, we can, when the women are becoming fractured, and you can see it in the vitality in their field, and we want to refuel that vitality. And
Yes.
all of us need to do our part and put our foot down if we're not holding ourselves sacred.
Fractured. Let's talk about the parasympathetic. Let's talk about the nervous system. Let's talk about anxiety. Let's talk about waking up with panic attacks. Let's talk about people that are getting thrown, women, day after day after day in their nerve system, because they're not eating properly and they're
Mhm,
full of toxicities, and there's a disconnect with the body and their nerve system and the gentleness of life. Let's just take it right down for a moment and talk about the gentleness of life. You see, do you remember, each one of you could probably remember this, and it can be any memory that comes to mind, but it's when you smell a particular aroma in the kitchen that reminds you of something nice. It can be from a baking you learned, or your grandmother taught you something, or you just remember passing by a, a, a bakery, or you remember somebody's home or your own home. Whatever that memory is of a time when your memory bank is bringing to the forefront the connection between that and a very nice feeling. That's when you drop right into the parasympathetic side. That's when you're giving yourself permission to be feminine, because all of a sudden your body just goes,
mm.
oh, and it
Bring on
drops.
the
You know that.
muffins.
What's that?
Yeah, bring on the muffins, like that scent in your grandmother's kitchen of baking,
You're baking.
yeah.
Yes. Or you're making soup, or whatever the case may be. Now, what's happening there is the moment that aroma, that fragrance is moving into your nasal cavity, you're already starting to trigger and put signals that go down into the base of the brain and start to activate in the limbic system and activate aspects of your digestive signals from the brain that trigger change. So it's not only a physical reaction where you will start to salivate, your mouth water. You're like, oh, when's dinner ready? Oh, when
Mhm,
those muffins ready? From the salivation, but there's actual signals that are taking place that tell the body to go into a calm. The
mhm,
pancreatic juices start to flow. The digestion is getting ready. It's starting to go into, um, I'm ready to receive, Mother Earth. I'm ready to receive. So you're actually relaxed. Now, that is something that is few and far between in our world, because we are so used to eating on the run. I don't even actually want to go there. I'd rather stay in this calm
yeah,
feeling I'm trying to create here, because if I go to the opposite, all of you are going to want to just, you'll get all upset. And instead, I'm saying lean into the receiving side. When you are relaxed and cooking, your family settles down. When
mhm,
you are relaxed and this nice odors, those beautiful fragrances are coming from the herbs or the baking or whatever you're making, already your body, your gut, your digestive tract, because it's preparing to see whatever's coming in. And when you take that bite and you start to eat and chew that food, remember your receptor, all the receptors in the body are preparing to receive. And so there isn't any of that anxiety. It
Mhm.
goes into a relaxed state of, I'm ready for digestion. I'm ready for absorption. I'm ready for assimilation. I'm ready for all those wonderful nutrients to flow through my body. It's actually the positive and negative charges that are taking place. You have the sun that gave it the positive vitality. We'll call it Father Sun, the positive charge of the sun. And then you have our blessed Mother Earth, which is in the negative, just like a battery, a negative polarity where you have those, maybe it's root vegetables, or you have something that you grew yourself and you cooked it. And so, can you imagine those charges, those active charges between positive and negative blending? And now your body is so comfortable, and now you're sitting ready to receive. Now, when you live like that, and we're going to do an exercise and meditation on that, I'm going to combine that to show you. When you live like that daily, not just once in a while when you're off at a retreat, but daily, that's the new norm.
It
That's the
has to
new
be.
paradigm.
And one of
It
my
has
good
to
friends,
be.
I remember one of my good friends, she would, even when she was single, she would set her ceremony up before she ate. She had a
Yes.
candle and flowers, and everything was like slow living before she ate. And I was full in
Beautiful.
my masculine back then. I was like, how do you do that? And there's
Yeah.
no one here. And she's like, it's like a ceremony. And I set it up, and I just was like, that's my dream, to be like you. And now's the time we must. And if we have kids, it's like setting that rhythm of, like you said, honoring and almost like blessing our mealtime and slowing it down and not
Yes.
having noise and tech and eating on
Yeah.
the run. And this is one of the detriments of kids being overstimulated with activities. I see families, their kids are running from game to practice, and they're eating fast food because the parents don't even have 2 minutes to feed them properly. And it's like, this is insanity.
And
This
then
is
they wonder why they're sick.
Yeah, and the
They
kids,
wonder why they're
the
sick.
black circles, and you can tell they're malnourished, but society has created this absurd schedule that
And
parents can
we are going to put a stop to it. Women around the world, and we will keep on talking about this every Sunday. Women around the world are going to change the world, and we're going to
Mhm.
stop. That's why I respect and I'm delighted to talk about the changes in the political setting of the United States and beyond. But as you and I talked about, we have to bring in the personal responsibility of
And
being
what
able
can
to
I
say,
do?
what can I do? What
What
can I
can I do?
personally do? So why don't we just move into the final few minutes of this exercise with a meditation that we can vary just 2-3 minutes. I would just like to introduce you to what we talked about with regard to the connection to food. So if everybody would like to just take some time to just now close your, and we'll start to settle into some nice breathing together. Nice deep breaths in. And as you are breathing, let's begin to really connect bodies, sacred bodies of light that we are living in this time. Now, every time that you breathe in, I'd like you to go in your mind's eye beyond the foods, beyond the planet, beyond the light of the sun, to the actual source of the divine,
universal divine of breathe deeply and feel the stillness. Source light and that energy of source light permeates all things with light and love and the beautiful song of life. And in that purity, we are one. Now, when that light comes down through you and passes through an awareness with all living things, including the light of the sun, there's an incredible increase of health and vitality. Now, as this light comes down inside of your hand, you'll start to feel it in the upper jaw area, called the TMJ jaw. So that when you are thinking about and possibly remembering the fragrance of one of your favorite foods, that memory, that alignment with love can be felt inside your head. You can fill your head until you might even feel a little tingling at the base of the skull or brain. Where all those cranial nerves start to come down the neck. Important ones that come to connect your heart. But the main ones I'm talking about come down and cause a wonderful relaxation in your stomach. All the area above your navel, pancreas, liver, gallbladder, stomach, such a relaxation. Because you are connecting with Source. You might even feel all your intestinal system all the way down throughout the body. And that's perfect. That is perfect. So just remember this feeling that you can come back to every time you're ready to eat your meal. That you can connect that food right back up to the lightest source. Thank you. Now begin to come back. Whenever you're ready, open your eyes and let's exercise that stretching out of our arms. Let's get that energy moving in our shoulders as the Gemini new moon guided us. Many blessings now. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you to each one of you. This is a delight for Lee and I, and we really hope that you are gaining benefit from it as well.
And
Many
just a
blessings.
little moment, yeah, many blessings and a little moment for us all to connect and to remember what's important in life and not get swept up too much in the week in disorder and messy, and stay true to you. Have a great night, everyone.
Bye for now.